Alright, today I want to talk to you about Wartime Gardens. And I want to try to make this as brief as possible. Wartime Gardens. Now some of you may think you know a little something about Wartime Gardens because you studied World War I and World War II, and you say to yourself, these are devastating wars. And if you studied Wartime Gardens, more likely than not, you have studied World War I and World War II. Been well documented. But what we don't know is that the most devastating war is the war that has been declared against nature and thus the black indigenous people of the world. You say, Doc, what about the Native American War? That was a devastating war. Some say the most devastating war in the history of the world. Well, the devastation that was heaped among the American Indian or the Native American or whatever you want to call us cannot be separated from the black indigenous war. It can't. It's part of it. The Jewish Holocaust can't be separated from the black Holocaust. It's part of the black Holocaust. So you can't talk about the Holocaust in Congo and not talk about the Holocaust in South Africa. It's all interconnected. The war against black indigenous people is worldwide and is not limited to one continent, to one country. Okay? So when we talk about Wartime Gardens, we're talking about the only world war in history, and that's the war against nature, the war against black indigenous people anywhere in the world. But many of you still might be confused. You still might think of war as something that happened in the past and that has nothing to do with the present. But I'm going to try to keep this brief. It's going to be difficult. I want to share with you something that I've shared in years past on some more radical YouTube channels, Vimeo channels, and other channels that have been terminated for their radical nature. But all I'm doing is reporting. So I don't know what's radical about reporting and commenting on what I report. Anyway, I want to share with you something called the 5-pointed star of black destruction, and I hope you can see this bottom one. I might just write over top of it, but this is my attempt at a 5-pointed star. Every point on the star represents a category of black indigenous destruction. The first one that I'm going to write here is genocide. The next one is nutricide. The next one, menticide. Then fratricide. Hope y'all can see this. And suicide. And I prefer to call this type of suicide sloicide, but we'll get into that in a second. All of these are bombs that have been dropped in the black indigenous community in the United States especially, but all around the world. Genocide, the killing of the black indigenous gene. Nutricide, the killing of our food, or the transforming of the gene or the genetic makeup of the food in which we're eating, is what I'm going to call it. But if you want more information on nutricide, you can study Dr. Layla Africa. You can purchase his book. He goes into great detail about his approach to nutricide, his explanation of nutricide. Menticide, the intentional destruction of a group's mind. And the best person that I will say study to understand menticide is the late Dr. Bobby Wright. Fratricide is the willing, I'm saying willing, but really the killing of your brothers and sisters. And suicide, of course, is the killing of yourself. All of these are interrelated. As I told you last week, I prefer to use a circle because it's all a continuum. All of this stuff is interconnected. Just as everything in the universe is interconnected. So some of y'all might be saying that these categories here that I'm saying are bombs that have been dropped in the black community. You may say that they affect other communities, not just the black indigenous community. Well, this is true. This bomb here affects everybody. But the black community is ground zero for this bomb. So the bomb is dropped and tested in the black community. Anybody that's in close proximity or close enough proximity to the black community is going to be affected by all of these bombs. So because you don't hear the bombs and you don't see the bombs, you definitely see the impact of the bomb in your community. All right. So let's take that off. That was the 5-pointed star of black destruction. It is a bomb that's been dropped in the black community. Now, one of the things that you'll see in common with all these words is the suffix side. Side. Side simply means the act of killing. So that's not a mistake. I'm going to say the intentional act of killing. So the genocide that occurred and occurs to this day is intentional. Study Margaret Sanger. There's a DVD that you can purchase and I recommend. It's called Genocide, the Ma'afa. You gotta get, I think it's Genocide in the 21st Century. You gotta get that DVD. Man, it's gonna go into detail. If you don't know you're at war, you're gonna know you're at war by the end of that DVD. There's also many other DVDs. There's Genocide by Brother Irritated Genie that you can pick up. You can pick up 7 a.m. by Dr. Claude Anderson and that group that produced that. It's many different DVDs. Hidden Colors, all of the Hidden Colors DVDs. But all of this that they're sharing with you is really just basic information. All right, so you have Wartime Gardens. We're at war currently. We're not talking about nothing in the past. The most devastating war in the history of the world is the war against nature and thus the black indigenous people of the world. So somebody has declared war on us. Why do we need Wartime Gardens? It's obvious that we need to produce for ourselves. Now, many of our people are directing us in one direction, and that is to get money. They say if you have money, you can get anything you need. Oh, really? So you get your money, right? I told y'all before that one of the brothers that organized the original Million Man March told me personally that there is a college area in Texas that by law, no black person can buy land in that area. Don't care how much money you got. So if you can buy anything with money, why can't you buy that land? It's not all about money. Land is the basis of independence. And somebody said, well, if you talk about independence, you're still talking about dependence on the white man. Listen, everything that lives on this planet is interconnected. So even the white man being independent is dependent on those which he suppresses and oppresses and goes to war with. All right, the white man is not in South Africa because he want to learn about Indian culture. He's not in Africa because he want to learn about the Congolese. He's in there. He's everywhere we are for the real and the true wealth that we possess. So y'all like to say that the white man came and he bought the Bible and we had the land, and then when he left, we had the Bible and he had the land. That's not the only thing he bought. He also bought you that worthless piece of paper that you chasing today. That is worth less, way less, infinitely less than the resources that you walking on every day. So you're gonna go after $1 and not the resources that you standing on? That's just silly. Anyway, we're talking about Wartime Gardens. We have to produce our own. We have to grow our own food so that we don't spend our money, since that's what you're saying it's all about, with the enemy, who is practicing, as we told you last week, transgenics. Let's put that back up on the board. Transgenics. The transforming of the gene. So he's practicing transgenics on the very food that you taking the money that you saying you need to go buy. But the food only resembles the nature's food, the food that we were growing, the food that was growing before the worst thing that ever happened to the world crawled out of the caves and hills of Europe. Okay? So money is not the answer. I'm not saying don't get any money. But what I am saying is that money is not the answer to our problem. If you study Wartime Gardens, you can go back and look at World War I and World War II, and you'll see in World War II especially that as mighty, as great as the German army was, they only produced 30% of their own food. So 70% of their food was coming from their allies or their so-called friends. Okay? And I say all the time that we cannot depend on our friends even to feed us. That's why Operation Black Independence, because we have to depend on ourselves as a group to feed us. The Germans, one of the ways they attacked the Germans was by cutting off the food supply from their so-called allies and friends. So if I have a friend in Jamaica and we just have to have mangoes, and they grow mangoes in Jamaica and Haiti and all these places, and I live in Maryland or DC or New York or Pennsylvania, and I depend on these mangoes, all they gotta do is cut off the supply line. I said this before. A lot of so-called black revolutionaries will tell you that gardening ain't got nothing to do with war. It most certainly does have everything to do with war. Because if a soldier can't eat, that soldier's gonna surely meet with defeat. Simple as that. So, side the killing, the act of killing. That's the suffix side. But we talking about ecocide as well. Again, we said that the European has declared war on nature itself. So where we see a tree, just cut the tree down. We're going to put a house right there. We're going to put a building right there. We need a CVS. Cut that whole, all them trees down. Cut all that down. But the ecosystem, the trees are part of the ecosystem. The natural predators of the pests that destroy your food supply live in the trees. If you cut the trees down, then you're cutting down their home. So now they got to go live somewhere else. And now you're inundated with all these pests in your garden. Everything in the ecosystem is there for a reason. So stop believing in white supremacy. Stop believing that the white man and white woman have all this knowledge and that we should be following them. The world is in worse shape now than it ever has been. Rely on your ancestral wisdom. Go deep within yourselves and sit at the feet of your ancestors. Listen and learn. All the information that you need to have is located inside of your genetic memory bank. Don't destroy the ecosystem because somebody told you you needed a green lawn, so you go out and kill all the plantains, weed, the so-called weed. You kill all the dandelions, so you got this green lawn, and now if you need a blood cleanser, where do you got to go? You got to go right back to the white man that you say through all these videos, because I'm talking to the conscious community now. All these videos and all these books is your enemy. Y'all got these doctorates, these PhDs, these master's degrees. You're so well studied, but you're not telling our people that they need to be independent, and we need to work towards independence. But if you're chasing a dollar that he's providing to you, then you're not seeking independence. The dollar is worth less, way less than what you're standing on. Get the wealth that's in the ground. Okay? Wartime Gardens. This is just an introduction. We're going to go further and deeper into the topic. I said I wasn't going to keep you too long. It's Saturday morning. It's supposed to be a nice weekend for those of y'all in the mid-Atlantic region. I know y'all going to go and enjoy yourselves. Study more about Wartime Gardens so you can understand why you have to at least start thinking about producing your own food, producing your own clothes, your own shelter, obtaining land. When a white man came, he didn't just bring no Bible, as many of y'all saying. He bought some imaginary concept that you bought into or was forced onto you. And now you have traded your natural resources for some worthless piece of paper. And stop saying that we need to just wait until the white man's world falls under the pressure of its own weight. White supremacy is a fire. And as long as it's something to be burned, the fire will continue to burn unless you stop the fire. This has been Daku. Peace.